and welcome back. My name is Don and we're at DJP Media. Today we're talking about the basics of music theory and how you can get started with it. Now, what is music theory? Music theory is basically a set of rules that we follow in order to create music. Now, as with any art form, it's not necessary that we follow these rules, but it's a great way to get us started if you're new to making music. Music theory builds a great foundation for our music production and helps us understand our creativity by helping us come up with new ideas and inspiring us constantly. Let's start by understanding notes. Here we have the keys of a piano. As you can see, we have black keys and white keys, and each key is represented by an alphabet. These alphabet representations of these keys are known as notes. In this diagram, we can see that the keys start with the note C, goes up to B, and then starts from C again. This distance from one note to the note being repeated again is also known as an octave. We also have sharp and flat notes, which are depicted by the keys in this diagram. If we're moving down from a white key to a black key, it's considered a flat. So if we were to move from the D note to the black key before it, it would be considered D flat. We also define the distance between these keys as tones and semitones. A semitone is the immediate distance between two keys, and a tone is two semitones. Now, it's also important to note that both E and B do not have sharps, which means that F and C do not have flats. Each of these notes have a defined frequency or pitch, and moving up or down between these notes either increases or decreases pitch. Now, music theory is going to help us decide which of these keys sound good together, either being played at the same time, like this, or being played in a series, like this. Now, let's take a look at music theory and how it's applied to the music we listen to. Let's listen to a bit of music and break it down.
Sends a prayer to the ones up above. All the hate that you've heard us turn your spirit to a dove. Oh, your spirit up above.
Now, if you noticed, we can break down the piece of music that we just listened to into three sections: harmony, melody, and rhythm. When the boy is singing, we hear a sequence of notes being played one after the other. This is known as our melody. When the entire group is singing together and we have multiple sounds playing over each other, that's known as our harmony. And our beat that's playing in the background that's following a specific speed and is repetitive is called our rhythm. If we understand how to recreate these parts of a song, we can create any genre of music or any part of a song that we like. All we need to do is understand the music theory behind it. Let's start by breaking down melodies. In music theory, we use scales to build our melodies. Scales are nothing but a predefined sequence of notes, and in Western music, the two predominant scales are the major scale and the minor scale. This is an example of a major scale, and this is what it sounds like. Now, we can reorder these notes and make it sound like any melody that we want it to be. Here's the formula to come up with this scale, where R stands for root, that is the note we start with, T stands for tone, and ST stands for semitone, and these are the distances between the individual notes. We have a similar formula for a minor scale. This is an example of an A minor scale, and this is what it sounds like. We can create these scales for any note just by defining our root and then following the given formula after. Some examples of melodies or melodic instruments are vocals, like we heard in the example before, lead guitars, lead synths, and so much more. This is extremely helpful because learning these scales will also help you understand different styles or genres of music, as they all use different scales. Now let's get into harmony. Harmony is nothing but multiple notes being played at the same time. And to understand this in music theory, we're going to take a look at chords. Now, there are many types of chords, but today we're only going to look at major and minor chords, and we're also going to be looking at triads. And triads are nothing but a chord with three notes. Let's take a look at a major triad. In this example, we have a C major chord. We can see the three notes that make up the chord, and the formula we use in order to get those notes. Now remember, R stands for root, or the note we start with, T stands for tone, and ST stands for semitone, which are basically the distance between these notes. By using this formula, we now understand the notes of our chord, and we play the notes together, and our chord sounds like this. Here's an example of a minor chord, the formula for the chord, and this is what it sounds like. Now usually when we listen to music, we don't just hear a single chord. We hear multiple chords being played one after the other. This is also known as a chord progression, and it sounds like this. Now if you noticed, even though we're in a C major scale, some of these chords were major chords and some of them were minor chords. So how do we decide which ones to use? In order to understand this, we're going to look at something called a diatonic scale. And a diatonic scale is nothing but a scale of chords which will help us understand when to use major, minor, and diminished chords within any given scale. Let's start by taking a look at a diatonic scale. This is a diatonic scale chart, and this is for a C major. Now in the first row, we can see all the notes of our scale, which we now understand through our scale formula. Above that, we have numbers, which tell us which notes are major chords, minor chords, and diminished chords. We can then form those chords based on the chord formulas we already went through. Now building a chord progression means that we're going to choose specific chords and play them in a specific order. The most common chord progression is 1, 5, 6, 4. This means we're going to play 1 as our first chord, 5 as our second chord, 6 as our third, and 4 as our fourth chord. Let's see how that sounds. Now remember to experiment with these progressions and find the chord progression that suits you. This is just the formula and table for a major scale. There's also a table for the minor scale, which looks like this. There are many examples of harmonies that we hear in music. For example, chords that we play in piano, or strings, or even a choir singing in the background. Now the last thing we're going to go over is rhythm. And rhythm is nothing but a sound that is repetitive and follows a given tempo. And tempo is nothing but the speed of our song or music, and that's measured in BPM, or beats per minute. Now BPM tells us how fast our song is. It's similar to measuring how fast we drive with kilometers per hour or miles per hour. And keeping that in mind, we need units of measurement to tell us how long our pieces of music are. When we're measuring distance, we use kilometers, meters, and centimeters. In music, we have bars, beats, and sixteenths. As we can see in this diagram, our largest unit of distance is a bar, 4 beats make a bar, and 4 sixteenths make a beat. These are also known as measures and can be represented by fractions as seen in the diagram. These measures help us identify and understand the length of our individual music pieces. Now remember, rhythm is nothing but a sound that is repetitive and follows a given tempo. A great example of rhythm is drums. Now, drums are played in patterns, and let's understand what a pattern is. Now, as you can see over here, we have a defined length of time, which is 1 bar. We can also see the 4 beats and the 16 sixteenths. On the left, we can also see different parts of a drum kit. We have our kick, our clap, and other parts. Now, making a drum pattern just means we're going to place these different drum parts along different sections of time. A great drum pattern to start with is called a 4 on the floor pattern. And a 4 on the floor pattern is simple. All we're going to do is put a kick drum at the beginning of every beat and a clap or snare sound at the beginning of every other beat, like so. And now when we play it, we hear a 4 on the floor pattern. Now this is probably the most commonly used beat in electronic music as well as other genres of music. It's a great starting point as you can now start moving your beats around and also add other beats like hi-hats or anything else that you fancy. So that's about it for the basics of music theory. Now obviously there's a lot more to music theory and a lot more that you can learn. A great resource to help you get started and learn more is learningmusic.ableton.com. There's a link below that you can check out. There's also a PDF that one of our own students put together that lists out all the major and minor scales as well as diatonic scales that you can try out. Now music theory will help you build a strong foundation for your music production. It'll help you with new ideas when you're stuck or even explore new genres you haven't tried out before. So make sure to dedicate some time, understand some music theory, and explore your productions even better. Now the next stepping stone from here for a lot of you guys is to start getting into music production and understanding something like a DAW or a digital audio workstation. That's a software you would use for creating music. I like using Ableton Live, and we also have a platform with multiple courses taught by some amazing trainers that will help you get started on the DAW of your choice. A link to our platform is also given in the description below. It's a great place where you can meet other producers or people who are trying to be creative. You can also talk to me, other trainers, and stay creative. I can't wait to interact with you guys on our platform and listen to the music you're creating. Happy learning and be creativity.